For this section of the tutorial, we will be covering the animations of a character, particularly the animations of the player. We'll show the animations for the enemies after this tutorial. It'll be a separate video. So, here we have a scene that shows the player character model here. And this player character model has an animator, which is the main source of the animations that are being controlled. Here, we have, if you want to, this is the most important component when it comes to animating and making a character move from one player to another. However, this is separate from a single animation. So, if you want to make a object repeat an animation over and over, you don't have to use an animator. Here's an example. Let's make a spinning cube. Make a cube. All right. A cube here, and then we make an animation. Next, we open animation, and we create this animation. Tab panel is in the window animation. So let's say it's not here anymore. Let's close it. We open here animation. So it's here now. While we select the cube game object we create, we have to make an object. So we call this spinning cube. Here we have the properties. So animations can be edited through the different aspects. It could be the size, the position, or the rotation of the object. So right now we want to make a spinning cube. All right, add that property. Let's add the transform and the rotation. All right, so here what we can do, so this entire thing is 1 second and several frames. Here we have the keyframes of the game object and animation. What this means is it will read the different values, and the animation will try to transition from one value to another. Example, if we want to rotate a cube 90 degrees by 1 second, we go to the very end. To make it easier, we record. Go to the very end, 1 second. We turn it 90 degrees. I think that's good enough here. And we put it back here. Is that? So I think 45 degrees is enough. I think that's enough. So end the recording. So once you play it in the preview, let's put it here so we can see it. It will rotate. That's the animation, and it will loop automatically. So here we have the animation spinning. We get the clip, animations, then we get this, the cube, and then we go here, we wrap the mode, make it loop forever. Wrap mode means it will show, so loop makes it so that it always repeats its animation. So if we go to the game, we can see it's continuously looping the animation without a controller. All right, we'll stop the time. Now we have the controller. So we tackled the animation without a controller. Now we'll tackle the animator, which is the animator controller. So to make one, we access our game object, which is the player over here. And we go to the right, component and controller, animator here. And you have to make a controller asset file. So here we have the controller. So if you make one, alright, animation controller, and then if you select that, you make test. And then here we have the character here over here. So this is the animator controller, and it will be led to this screen. So this screen is a state machine. A state machine is essentially the different states of a game object in terms of animation. So here we have two kinds of states. Here the normal state, which is the animation, and we have a blend tree. We'll get to a blend tree in a bit. So entry, this just signifies the first node that the game object comes from upon spawn, upon the initialization and instantiation of the game object, and it'll go to the default. This orange orange color means that this is the default layer default. So all the animation starts from here. So here, this is a blend tree. A blend tree is a type of state that depends on a single or multiple parameters. So we double click this and we lead to this blend tree that has 3 states. So this state is the idle state, the running state, and the walking state. So this blend tree uses a single parameter. Now, what are parameters? Parameters are values that are variables. So there is a float, a boolean, and triggers. There's also an integer, but for the sake of this tutorial, we'll be using a float and a trigger. So now, blend tree will essentially get a parameter. For this case, it's move speed. So move speed is essentially going to be a value that is gotten from the code character movement in the separate video for character controls. Here, move X and move Z is the WASD inputs, or the arrow key inputs. Here we have the inputs, and if you want to reference your animator in your scripts, you need to first make a variable for the animator. So it's private or public animator and animator, and then you call it. So animator equals get component animator. So as usual, and then the animator has the important methods to get from an animator is the set float, set triggers here. So the set float essentially sets the float parameter as previously mentioned from the state machine. So if I want to set this float to 5, I would put animator dot set float and open parenthesis the name of the string name of the parameter, and then comma the value of the parameter. So in this case, these two if statements get the negative value of move X, which is the horizontal movement. And this means if there is no vertical movement, so move forward and backward. And this one means if the character was already moving to the backwards and to the left and to the right, meaning that move speed will be -1. And here, this will mean that it'll just get the moves if just moving forward. So why is this important? Going back to blend tree. So here, there are 3 different animations, as you can see here. And these animations, blend tree is a state that allows animations to seamlessly transition from one to another. So from idle, if you're not moving, that means there's no movement, so movement speed 0. So no input from the player with the arrow keys or the WASD buttons. And then if you move backwards or to the left and to the right, it will get the -1, which will makes it walk. And if you move forward, it's going to move forward, and it will show you just to show and demonstrate. So here, currently, this is the idle animation. This is the idle animation, okay? That's an attack animation, that'll be for later. The attack, this idle animation is when the character is not moving, or the movement speed parameter is 0. Now, if I move forward or use the move forward, it's going to change. So observe the parameters here, and look here as well as in the blend tree. It's moving. So because it's positive, it's going to do the running animation. So as you can see. And then if I stop moving, it's going to go back to the idle. So it seamlessly transitions from one animation to the other using blend tree. Now if I move backwards, it's going to get for another animation here. Same goes when I move to the left and to the right. So if I move to the right, same walking. To the left, same as well. If I move forward and diagonally, it'll keep running forward. However, if I move backward and diagonally, it keeps the animation. See? So there, it seamlessly transitions the animations. So this is blend tree. Now we go back to the base layer of the parameters. animator controller. So now here's another one. Here is a animation. This is not a blend. This is just an animation. So if you want to put an animation, we drag this. An animation will be put here, and then let's say I want to example this sword swipe. Oh, let's remove this for now. So if I want to how besides blend trees, we use transitions or to move from one state to another. So we go here, we add a transition. So give me a second. So we right click this and make transition. So we have it's an arrow that leads from one state to another. Here we have the arrow, and now we have conditions. So if there are no conditions, the animation will, upon completion of the initial animation, it will lead to the next one. So this has no condition, so it will immediately go back to the blend tree after the completion of this animation. And so we add a condition. So the attack condition is its trigger. A trigger is essentially a single time use boolean that goes back to false. So for the purposes of this tutorial, we use the left mouse button as the trigger for the attack. So upon the trigger attack, it will trigger this animation. You can observe in the state machine the animation move duration. So upon left clicking, you can see it does the animation for the sword swipe, and it goes back to blend tree, the idle animation immediately. So here, so if I attack this, so I can move, and then I can click to left click and I attack. There you go. And one more. So any state is essentially, this node essentially means any state within the entire controller, whether it be idle, moving, or doing a sword swipe. This means anything, any transition, that any state that goes from here to another state, so example death, would trigger at any state. So this is the death animation, and this condition is the death condition, which is also a trigger. So if we go back, for the purposes of this tutorial, it's right click, right mouse button. Okay, so if I click right mouse button, it will trigger the death animation. There. If you want your animations to loop, you have to go to the initial animations here, and you have to make sure it loop time so that you can loop the animations. More settings are available here for you to use, like loop pose, which seamlessly goes back to the animation by extrapolating the positions of the model. And you can also adjust the time from the start to beginning of the animation. And also you can adjust the speed and the motion time, and you can mirror it as well. Also add some behaviors and components to the animations. So if I want to make it slower or faster, adjust the speed. That's it for the animations of the player character. We will also tackle the enemy computer controlled game objects in another video.